Welcome and happy Midsummer. Skål!
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast, powered by the Roll Up Network. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. I really appreciate all the support. This has been a great year for us. Before we jump into tonight's film review, I just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. It's got all of our episodes, interviews, our blogs, our episodes, all the good stuff. And we've got a link to all of our social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Go follow us on those platforms. We'd really appreciate it. And one last thing before we jump into tonight's film review, just want to shout out our Patreon blood donors. We have it set up to where you can make a one-time donation or you can be a reoccurring monthly donor. If we get a lot of fans who ask how they can support us, how they can help us out. Just check out our website. We really appreciate it. Let's jump into tonight's film review. I'm kind of excited for this one. This is my pick after 4 months of not picking a movie, so I'm pretty excited for this one. I chose 2019's Midsommar, and I chose this movie because I'm in a lot of horror groups on Facebook. Midsommar, Hereditary, Rob Zombie, and Jordan Peele's movies are some of the most controversial ones in those groups if you look through them. So I chose Midsommar tonight just because I think it's time for us to review it. I like this movie. When I first watched it, I did not like this movie. I didn't know how to process it. But just like in the previous episodes we've done, The Shining, The Platform, movies that just stick with me when I end the movie, and like what I just watched just processes in my mind, in my heart, just everything I just consumed. This movie just stuck with me, and after a couple rewatches, I've honestly, just like The Ring, after a rewatch, I really grew to really like this movie. And this is a movie I understand completely where you would not like this movie, so I'm not going to have my feelings hurt if someone that reviews the movie with us doesn't like it. And just judging by our social media, like on Instagram, we've gotten a ton of comments a day on it. Just people loved it, or some people love it. We're super excited for the review. Another person said, I would rather watch paint dry. I understand both perspectives. All right, Brian, you want to go next? General thoughts?
Sure. So here's the deal. And I may catch a lot of flack for this like I did The Shining, but I don't care. So this is like The Shining to me. I mean, I don't like this movie at all. But like Shining, I definitely understand it, and I quote unquote air quotes here, I get it. I'm just not a fan of these artistic types of movies. It's very slow to me, and it's 2.5 hour run time, which I watch 2 and 3 hour movies all the time, and I have no issues. But in this, I feel that 2.5 hours. And there are parts of it where I was honestly incredibly bored. But with that said, it has amazing visuals. It has just this creepy ass, unnerving atmosphere, which again, how much of a stickler I am for atmosphere. And honestly, I want to like these type of films. I just haven't found one that I do like yet. I didn't care enough about the main characters besides Danny. I mean, Mark is funny as hell for sure, but like the Covenant people, like they seem more like caricatures than real people to me. And I mean, again, I 100% know that's on purpose, but some people need different things for a movie to resonate with them to the point of liking it. And everybody's different. It just didn't keep my attention, and that was a big reason for it. But again, I admire it for doing something different, and again, like The Shining, my score will probably more than likely reflect that. Ari Aster said his intention was to hope to leave you confused and up for interpretation. And again, I respect the hell out of that. Basically, if you're looking for me to either love it or hate it, I probably hate it more. But honestly, I think I feel like I'm supposed to feel after it, which is just like confused, uneasy, haunted by it, and wondering what the fuck did I just watch?
This movie makes me want to do drugs.
Go ahead, Mike.
This movie, folks, I just want everybody out there to take something away from this episode. I don't care what you're going through in life. I don't care how far down you've been beaten. I don't care if you don't think that it can get any better. This review should give you hope because Nico and I agree. You thought it couldn't be done, but here we are. I really like this movie too, man. I think that yes, it is.
I would like to point out that you did agree on Cloverfield. Just wanted to throw
That's
that.
true.
In there.
That's true. The Mega Powers did unite on that one as well.
Hey, don't leave me hanging over here. Fuck Cloverfield.
Oh man, you were Macho Man on that one.
already.
We were Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Hulk Hogan. But
Ooh, yeah. Fuck Cloverfield, huh?
but no, as far as this movie goes, man, I just think the runtime is a little long, but the visuals are so stunning. The cinematography is great. The acting is great. Florence Pugh is great. Call Me Sometime. Beat you to it, Mike. Suck it. It's just, it's crazy. It feels like a drug trip. It's very fucking eerie because the whole damn thing is in sunlight. Like the first 20, 30 minutes are, it's dark and winter, blah, blah, blah. But that's not the scary part. It gets scary in the daytime, which I think is a nice flip of the trend that we usually see in horror movies. It's unnerving a lot of the movie because you don't know what the locals are saying. You don't know if they're laying out their plan in real time, but you just can't understand them. And I like that Ari Aster did it intentionally. He only put subtitles on stuff that we actually did need to know. The rest of it, he left it unsubtitled so that we would just feel uncomfortable and out of place. There's a ton of metaphors to be found here. I like that the whole damn movie is foreshadowed through the whole thing. If you pay attention, and you won't get it on your first watch, but you watch it the second time, a third. I've only seen the movie twice, but you watch it. I'm gonna watch it again, and I know I'll pick up on even more now. It's like there's subtle clues and even not so subtle clues in your face the entire movie, letting you know exactly how it's going to play out. And so I just think it's a really, really good movie. Do I enjoy it? Here's the thing. No, because it's so fucking creepy. But it's a really good movie. This is one of those weird movies where usually if I say that, it's going to get a low score for me because if I don't enjoy it, I don't enjoy it. But this one, it did what it was supposed to. I don't think you're supposed to enjoy this movie. And so it understood the assignment, as the kids like to say.
Well, now you understand my text because I took it as you guys enjoyed this movie, and I texted the guys after I watched it and went, "What the fuck is wrong with y'all?"
Well, that's what was funny because, like, now looking back on the text, do you know what I was talking about when I said the scene? You know the scene. You're shaking your head right now. God, that's so fucking uncomfortable to watch.
Well, the thing is, there's several of the scenes in this movie, if you think about it.
Oh, there's one, though. There's one that's very uncomfortable. Okay, so, first of all, a couple things here off the top. Number one, fuck you, Dustin. Florence Pugh, call me sometime. Don't call him. Two,
Engaged.
if you would want, yes, I am. I just meant if she needs an ear, somebody to talk to, just a good friend, just throwing out a lifeline here, Florence. Almost like I'm fighting for my family. All right, anyway. So, come on. That was a reference. Come on. All right. Anyway. So, here's number
crazy
two.
because she turned herself into a Black Widow in this movie.
Yes.
The only reference I've given.
She was in a movie called Fighting for My Family. It's about the wrestler Paige.
I got that.
Okay. So anyway, number two, off the top here, if you want to hear me and Dustin break down more horror films, you can listen to us talk about Florida State football on the Lateral Pod, which you can get anywhere you listen to subscribe to podcasts. So there's 2 horror podcasts this week. Okay, number 3, I'm weird about this film because the first time I ever saw it, I kind of had the reaction that Brian did, more of a, well, what the fuck was that? Like, it wasn't even so much that I didn't like it. I just didn't know what I watched. And all of Ari Aster's films are there's so much, for lack of a better word, not innuendo, but like there's so much hidden meaning and stuff. Everything has a purpose. Everything comes back. There's no real scene or even dialogue that's just frivolous in most of the movies I've seen from him or in this style so far. So I watched it once. I'm like, I don't know if I ever need to watch that again. It was uncomfortable. It was unnerving. It's a very right off the top. It is a beautifully made film. The cinematography is outstanding. I love a lot of the shots in this film. I'm going to go ahead and spoil it. The upside down road is awesome. It's a really cool shot. Like Dustin said, you have this sense of fear almost the entire time. Once they get to Sweden, you almost have this unsettling sense of fear because you don't know what a lot of these people are saying. And the subtitles, when you watch it at home video, just says speaking in Swedish. What the fuck does translate it for me? Come on, I want to know what they're saying. Like, you know what I mean? But no, so I watched it again, probably a year ago, and I picked up on a little more. And I got, as Dustin and the kids say, I got the assignment. Like, I got what's going on here. You can read this movie a lot of different ways, and I kind of like that about this movie. There's some things I don't like. This kind of movie, I'm more in the same vein as Brian. This kind of movie normally isn't for me. I enjoy Ari Aster's Hereditary more than this movie. I think just because I enjoy more of a darker, grittier film, and that one is. And I enjoy, it's not him, but I enjoy The Witch as well. Just in that same artsy style horror. So, but I've watched this movie 3 times now, and I am still, as we review this film, undecided on if I like it or I don't. And normally by now, a third watch, I know if I like a movie. And I still don't know as I sit here and talk about it. It's not that I don't like it, but I really don't know if I actually like it or I want to like it because so many other people like it. It's a very divisive film amongst horror fans, and it's a divisive film in my own head because there's sometimes I wake up like this week, the last 4 days, I've woke up, I said, I think I like this. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go with a more positive review. And then I remember something and I'm just like, that's like, this did not entertain me. So Dustin made a great point. Did I enjoy this movie? No, it's not an enjoyable watching experience, which is why I've only seen it 3 times. And I only watched it the 3rd time because we had to review it for this podcast. And so, but that doesn't mean I don't like it. I just don't enjoy it. And I think that's kind of where I've settled is I'm just not sure, but I know it's not a bad movie. That is one thing I could say. It is not a bad movie. I just don't know if I like it or not. It's very weird. There's a lot to get into, and I know I'm rambling because as I'm doing my notes, I rambled. In my notes, there's a lot of rambling. I was like, this is unnecessary. You don't have to put this. So I would delete and shorten it up and delete and shorten it up. So that's kind of what this movie should have done because 2 hours and 40 minutes is not fucking acceptable for a runtime. This movie is bloated. That's my only big nitpick. This movie you could tell their story in a much shorter time frame. I get it. It's someone's art. Who the hell am I to tell someone that they need less time to tell their story? But as a moviegoer, 2 hours and 40 minutes is it. When you get to the hour and a half mark, I was watching it with my fiance last night. When you get to the hour and a half mark and you look down, you have another fucking hour of this movie? What could they possibly do they haven't already done? And so, well, yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm just going to leave you here. The last hour of this movie has a bloody dick. So I don't know why we needed that. I don't think that was necessary, but we get that anyway. All right, back to you, Nico. Florence Pugh, call me sometime.
I don't know where we go from here.
Bro, you couldn't even wait till the scene.
No, I couldn't wait to see. You said you
13 minutes.
I wasn't going to steal it from you.
That's
I mean,
not
I
even
wasn't-
like the most disturbing part of that
No.
scene, though.
You set me up. Oh, hell no, it ain't the most disturbing part of that scene. But you set me up by saying a lot more. I said, yeah, the last hour has a bloody dick. That's what we've been waiting for. We're waiting for a bloody dick and someone's lungs coming through their back. That's what we were waiting for. Okay, all right, cool, man. That's cool.
All right.
Let's wrap
There
this
you go.
episode up, fellas.
It's been
My
good,
favorite
fellas.
kill was
Hey, we're off to.
At the we got a fan question from Michelle, and whenever we answer that question, I'm going to touch on just a lot of the hidden messages that are in this movie that you'll never notice on your first watch, that you can't not see whenever you watch it the second time. So I think it was brilliant a lot of the things he done. Any more opening thoughts except for Mike, before we jump into the scene by scene?
Anybody except for Mike.
I do
I
agree with you, Nico, by the way. I think there is a lot of brilliant stuff that you only catch the second time around. That is true.
Yeah, and I'll make sure I give the two YouTube videos credit, Looper and I think the other one's called Movie Spoilers. But all right, let's jump into it because this is a beast of a movie. Film starts with a mural I wrote that literally tells the whole movie. We now hear a woman sing in Swedish as we see wintry shots of nature. A phone rings and no answer at the Arter residence. Danny called to see if everything is okay. She got a scary message from Terry. She's worried and we see the parents asleep. Danny reads the messages from Terry. She says she can't anymore. Everything's black and mom and dad are coming too. Goodbye. Danny calls her boyfriend Christian. He just smoked and now he's getting pizza with friends. She asks if he wants to hang later, but he doesn't remember making plans. He says he can swing by and ask the sister, and ask about the sister situation. She hasn't gotten a response after 3 emails, and he says she does this all the time. It's just for attention. She agrees with him and says she's lucky to have him. Danny calls like one of her girlfriends and vents about Christian, about scaring him off, and she leans on him too much for support. She tells her good riddance if he can't be there for her. Mark tells Christian he's got to get off the fence about this relationship and find someone who likes sex and isn't pulling him through hoops every day. Danny calls him again and Mark says it's abuse. He answers and she's crying and screaming. We see the fire department is there. Terry fed car exhaust into the parents' house, killing them and herself. They take the parents' bodies out the house, and we see Terry's dead body under her computer desk with the unread messages. Christian gets to Danny's and holds her as she cries, showing little empathy for her. We pan out the window to see snow falling. We get opening credits and title card. Some time later, we see Danny lying down and Christian enters. She asks where he's going. She's going to join him at a party for a little bit. We hear distorted talking. Pele tells him about their trip to Sweden to a midsummer festival. It's 2 weeks from now, and Christian tells Danny he might not go. Danny and Christian walk inside the apartment. She says it was weird how she had no idea about Sweden. She didn't know he was going. He just decided today he was going. She now asks how he'd feel if the roles were reversed. He says maybe I should just go home. She just wants to talk to him. She begs him to stay and talk. She says she's fine. Mark asks Pele if there's any sex clubs in Stockholm. Christian tells the guys Danny is coming up. He tells them he invited her to come, but he doesn't think she's going to go to Sweden. He now says she accepted, but she's not going to go. He now says that they told him to invite her and to play along with that. Pele asks if she's coming, and she says yes. Mark asks Christian to check out this paragraph in the other room. Danny and Pele chat now. She says she got a break from finals this year due to all of her trauma. She's doing psychology, and we see Josh walk off. Pele is telling her about the 9-day festival. He's from a small community, and he shows her pictures of the pageantry. He shows her the May Queen and says he's glad she's coming. He now tells her sorry about her loss, and he brings up how he lost his parents as well. She walks off in tears into the bathroom, and we're on the plane now as she cries and weeps. She makes it back to her seat. We get some turbulence as they land into Stockholm. The group is driving, and Mark loves the women. And now they say they're not happy about the 4-hour drive. All right, Brian, go ahead and kick us off with that opening.
Again, I can't say enough about the visuals. I felt like I was watching a Kubrick movie with all these landscape shots in the beginning, but they were definitely amazing visuals and just throwing you into that entire situation with Danny's parents. Again, the way Astor shoots this film is just absolutely brilliant. Having the whole symbolism with it being so dark, like Dustin mentioned during these scenes, really, really showing the entire state of mind for Danny. I mentioned I first saw Florence Pugh in Black Widow, and I just fell in love with her as an actress. I mean, she's so good. She stole that movie. And here in this set of scenes, it's really showcased. I mean, she really sells her emotions. She's absolutely phenomenal. Like, deserved an Oscar for this performance. Good. And the way Astor shot that reveal of her parents' murder and her sister's corpse, holy shit! I mean, that was just haunting. Jack Raynor, I've never seen him in anything else before this. he does well enough in this, and he has to be. Ari Aster was quoted as saying that he wanted to make a breakup movie more than a horror movie, and he wanted people to feel the way that breakups actually feel, catastrophic, like the world is ending. So Raynor had to be on his A game, and he is. I mean, he plays an asshole, abusive boyfriend pretty damn well. And this, look, and it's not his fault, but someone I read saw or called him a budget Chris Pratt, or Chris Pratt on cable, not DirecTV, and I can't unsee that now. So sorry, bro. I mean, I'd love to have you on the show sometime, talk about it, I guess, but I don't know. Sorry, I didn't mean that either. That was a lie. I'd rather have real Chris Pratt. But anyway, all right. So
well, I know who's not coming on the show.
That's worse than Bloody Dick. I don't care what you say.
Well,
no,
Let me unsend that DM to him real quick.
All right. So the sound design with Danny at that party, just muffled, I thought that was brilliant by Aster as well. This whole character arc with Danny, like how she spends this entire part of this movie, really showcasing the fact that she just basically lives for everyone else. I mean, especially Christian. She's surrounded by these people who don't give a shit about her grief or her really, really at all. And I think that arc with her, and we'll get into the other side of it after a while, but that arc with her is to me the best part of this movie. My only negatives here is Mike brought this up a little bit. I truly felt like we got the character development that was intended within about 10 or 15 minutes. But this group of scenes is just over 30. So, that's kind of where I was at with it.
Yeah, so I kind of really love this set of scenes, partially because it really does a good job, like you said, Brian, of developing a really good character dynamic between this group of people that we're going to be spending the next 70 hours with. So it does a good job of establishing that. I love the character of Danny. Florence Pugh is a freaking rock star, man. And I'm being serious. I mean, acting chops wise, in this film, her character, the way she portrays it, horror does not get enough love from the Academy. Because to me, this is one of my favorite portrayals of any character in a horror movie that we've reviewed. And I stand by that. She's phenomenal. From the first time she opens the email until the very last scene where she's smiling. Like, it is just a complete whirlwind, and she does a great job. Your heart breaks for the character, Danny. Again, we don't really meet the sister or the parents, but I mean, good Lord, that's a lot of grief. That's a lot of tragedy. And for you to get that last email is tough. So again, I care about this character already. Her boyfriend Christian is a dick. There's no doubt about it. He's not a good boyfriend. He apparently hasn't been a good boyfriend. He's got a group of friends that wants him to leave her. What I say, this group of friends has a very almost odd dynamic, because I'm not really sure if they're like super close friends. Because like Pele is this like hippier Swedish foreign guy or whatever. Josh is all about his academics. The whole movie, well, while he's in it, he is all about his thesis. He only cares about finishing this freaking paper. Then you get Christian, who has zero motivation, zero ambition, riding coattails of people, bad boyfriend. And then you get Mark, who's just a funny motherfucker that wants to get drunk and get laid. And it's hard. It's really, that's a weird group dynamic to me. But I guess they're all in the same major, so it makes sense. I'll give Pele credit early for trying to be a good friend, although I think he had some intentions with my girl Danny there from the very get-go. I don't think he was being the comforting friend as he tried to portray himself. I'm with you, Brian. Love the muffled scene at the party. It shows to her she's there, but she's not physically there, man. Her mind is still all kinds of all over the place. Really like that. I love the opening snowy title card. That's the score, the music in this whole movie, but especially right here, really, really good. Again, you get these fights with Danny and Christian, where they just don't look at each other. And it's so uncomfortable, because if you've ever been in a relationship that's like on its way out, that's dying a slow death, you know what that's like, and it sucks. And it's, again, super uncomfortable as a viewer. Like, Ari Aster wrote this movie as he was going through a breakup, and it's all there, man. Like, it's very clear what he was going through at that time. And so you can relate to that. And I think that's pretty damn good stuff. I love where Kristen's like, she's not going. I swear to God, she's not going to Sweden. First thing she does, walks in the door. Hey, I guess I'm going with you guys now. And again, the character of Mark is funny, but he's also an asshole because there's really no reason why her going with them would change anything. I will say this, and this is pretty much all I have because after this, that they get into the car. But to me, Pele is, I've seen a lot of love for him online. He's a manipulative piece of shit from the very beginning. He didn't tell these motherfuckers anything about where they were going. You could tell Mark thought he was going on some Panama City beach vacation thing or whatever. Like he thought he was about to be in a whole different world. Obviously, I think Josh was there for just school because that's all. I will say this: he probably has the weakest character development because he really only cares about this one thing, and he's so focused on it. He really doesn't he's indifferent, doesn't care about anything else around him. So, again, I love this set of scenes because it lays some good groundwork. It is a little long, a lot of talking, like I'm doing now. So I'm gonna pass it on to Dustin.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great set of scenes to set the mood and to give you a better understanding of why some decisions are going to be made. You see very early on, Christian is a complete dick. Dani's just been through so much here. She's calling him because her sister is bipolar and she's worried, and he just brushes it off and saying that she is playing into it. And he really is downplaying the whole mental illness that she suffers from. Just doing it though because he doesn't want to talk to his girlfriend or wife, whatever their dynamic is here. You really feel connected and you empathize with Dani. Also, it's worth noting that you see on the computer screens there that her surname is Ardor, Ardor, which is Latin for the word flame. So that's kind of foreshadowing as well because of the ending that she provides for Christian. Spoiler. And then you just feel so sorry for her because you really can tell she'll do whatever it takes to keep him. She blamed herself for
yes. I'm so glad you said that.
He's like, I don't want to be attacked. She's like, no, I'm not trying to attack you. And if it feels that way, then I'm sorry. Like, that's bullshit. She should not be apologizing for anything. He's just an asshole. And you could tell she didn't even want to go to Sweden. Well, first of all, she didn't want him to go to Sweden. But then when he's like, asked her half-heartedly just so she'll decline but know that she can go, she didn't want to go. When she came in the room with her friends, she's like, I guess I'm going if that's okay with you guys, but I won't ruin your trip. Like, she didn't want to go. She just was willing to do whatever it takes to be with him. That's sad as hell. Christian's friends are all dicks, every single one of them. Because you've got the one guy that just blows her off and gets up and then acts annoyed anytime that she talks to him. You got the other guy that's just even worse than that. He walks out. It's like, Christian, can I talk to you about something else in the other room? Like, she doesn't know that you want to talk about her. And then you got Pele. Pele is a conniving asshole. He is the kind of friend that you want to avoid in your life. He's the kind of fear that every man fears we have. He's the guy that you think you're close to, but secretly he's got designs on your girl. And he's going to, in this case, he's going to lead you into a path. He's going to lead you to your demise. So hopefully no one faces that. But at the very least, we all have feared at one point or another, like, do my friends, would they take my girl if they were given the opportunity? Pele's not even secretive about it throughout this whole movie. So fuck Pele. But
yes,
overall, it's a great set of scenes. Going back and watching it the second time, I was picking on stuff that I hadn't realized before. And it's just, this is really a multi-leveled movie that is a masterpiece. And some of the camera shots we get in this opening set of scenes let you know what kind of a treat we're in store for in that regard.
Hey, before you go, I wanted to point out a shot that I thought was just amazing. There's so many of them in this movie, but the shot of Dani when she's talking to Christian, but you can only see Christian through the mirror.
Yeah.
I thought that was a fantastic shot. I mean, he's just wanted to point that out.
And again, that kind of like piggybacks on what I was about to say is even some of this dialogue in this first set of scenes, it might sound minuscule, it might sound like throwaway, but most of it, if it doesn't mean anything, the way it's said still means something. So even the shot that you're talking about, Brian, Christian, he can't do face-to-face confrontation at all. If you watch him throughout this entire film, he can't go face-to-face with hardly anybody. Like when he's talking to Danny, he almost avoids all eye contact, tries to gaslight her, blame her, make her feel bad. When he takes Josh's thesis idea, he can't actually look him in the face. He's looking around, he's looking down. So like the mirror, that shot to me is almost like that's how they communicate. Like not looking at each other. There's a mirror there so we can see both sides, but they aren't even looking at each other. So again, just a really realistic, to me, breaking down of a relationship, like right in front of our eyes. Like I think at least everyone has been through that at least one point in their life.
Our Pele says that this is the first stop. They all exit the car and it's beautiful. Pele introduces them to some of the younger people. We meet Pele's younger brother, Ingmar. We also meet Simon and Connie. Ingmar offers them some shrooms, and Danny says she needs to find her footing first. She's not ready to do that, and Christian says that he'll wait for her too. She says she's ready as the group pressures Christian. They all take their shrooms. They wake up under a tree. It's 9 p.m. and Mark is pissed that the sky is still blue. He is not okay. Mark lays down and Danny sees grass like growing through her hand. They look up and see the trees breathing. Mark says they're like his family, and that triggers Danny, and she takes a walk as she panics. She tells herself she's fine over and over. Ingmar asks if she's okay. She says they were laughing at her. Danny runs into a barn and sees her sister's image in the mirror. She now runs into the woods. Christian wakes her up now, and she asks if it ever got dark. They now take the hike to the festival. And like you said, Mike, earlier, I wrote as a nice overhead shot of them all walking. They ask Pele where they're going. It's a long walk. Mark asks about ticks, and they have a big issue with them here. They make it to the community, the Harga, and it's beautiful with flutes playing. Some people take their luggage from them, and Pele introduces them to his sister. Pele hugs the father and introduces them. Whatever you need, just say so, he tells them. The community assembles around this stage as someone begins to speak to them. Josh asks if he can take photos. It's been 90 years since their last feast. They raise their glasses to their 9-day festival. We see a disfigured person painting, and a woman shouts spirits back to the dead as they raise a torch. We now see Maya, who joins the rest of the people who are doing a giant lion dance as the Americans watch on. Danny says she's too scared to join. The game is called Skin the Fool. Maya kicks Christian flirtingly as she walks by. He and Josh join the game as Pele hands Danny a portrait he drew of her for her birthday. She thanks him and says Christian forgot about her birthday. She says she forgot to remind him. Josh asks how they support this place, and Pele shows them the rooms. Connie asks how long Danny and Christian have been together, and Christian is wrong about the actual time. Danny congratulates Simon and Connie's engagement. Christian asks about the yellow building, and it's a sacred temple. We now see a bear in a cage. Ingmar shows Connie a love story on a sheet, and I wrote, kind of gross. Pele takes them to the place they're all sleeping. Josh is in awe of the place, the hieroglyphics on the wall, the design. It's like another world. Everyone until age 36 sleeps here. They treat age like the seasons. Danny asks about age 72, and Pele just laughs with like a throat slash symbol. Danny looks at the wall of May Queens as Christian and Pele chat. You become May Queen by winning a dance competition. Christian pulls Danny outside to give her a piece of cake, but struggles to light the candle as he sings her happy birthday. He now apologizes he forgot and blames the daylight. All right, go ahead, Brian. That's the next two scenes.
So, Mike and you guys kind of brought that up a little bit. The shot of the car going down the road and the camera rotating upside down the entire time with that soundtrack, I think it really sets that tone. And, it kind of, to me, symbolized the fact that shit's about to turn the whole world upside down. But it also served as a really good transition into that bright ass sunshine. And I don't mean just like daylight. I mean, Astra was like, here is some blinding ass sunlight for you. And I really like how he did that as well, the whole symbolicness behind that. And Dustin touched on that. But I want to talk about Will Poulter too. I didn't bring him up in the first act there, but I really like him a lot. I mean, he's in We Are the Millers, Maze Runner trilogy. I think he's a great actor, and I don't know, he might be my favorite character in this movie. He made me laugh a lot. If anything should be taken away from this movie, I think is don't do drugs. These kids didn't obviously have the DARE program in their schools, and whenever a new person walked up on them, I think it was said, "Oh, here comes the new people," and they were all high. But it reminded me of It Follows. I was just kind of waiting for the music to kick in. But the grass looking like it's growing through Danny's hand, really the first hint from Astor where he's like showing, me as the audience member that I can't really trust anything that I see with my eyes. And that's apparently not the point, and it's really not important. But what also starts here, I think, is the character arc with Danny that I talked about in the last set of scenes. Like, really, I feel like it really starts moving downward slope. On the roller coaster, like with her walking off from the group by herself and saying that she doesn't want Christian to follow her. I think that was a very important start to her little arc, and a lot of great beats here. The only really horror element popping up was with a dream of her sister staring at her. I thought that was another little great shot. The rest of this is just Astor kind of keeping you in that whole state of like, what the fuck is happening, which again, I know that was on purpose. And the dialogue, I thought you kind of brought that up, but the dialogue between the main cast talking about the tick problem, I really felt that was really well written. It felt natural. Poulter, I think, really did a really good job of delivering it. His lines are tremendous in this. What do you do when you have to jack off? There's a lot of dicks on the wall here. That cracked my ass. That cracked my ass up. And Mark saying, "Oh my God, I want to give her a bath." I don't know. It was funny. And what about how, like, and I talked about the imagery you kind of get hit with out of the blue, but like this deformed person just out of nowhere, and you kind of get this flash. And I was like, like I was like this many times in the movie, but when I got that, I was like, oh my God, what the fuck did I just see? But anyway, that's all I had on this group of scenes.
Yep. So I love that shot going upside down. I already talked about it. That's a really, really good shot by Ari Aster. And however they did that, I'd like to know. I tried to find it, and I didn't find any information on how they made that work. I'm guessing maybe just, post-production, they flipped it. But it would have been really cool if they found like a practical way to do it. I thought that would have been awesome. Yeah, so you said if you take away anything, don't do drugs. I'm just going to say right here in front of everyone, this is a pretty accurate portrayal of what it's like to do a hallucinogen. It's not, polka dotted elephants and Wolverine trying to slash at you. It's weird textures and things move that don't really normally move. And I think they do a really good job of portraying that. Now this ends up with some of the funniest stuff in the movie to me. Mark is hilarious. You could tell he doesn't know how to handle his stuff, or he didn't do a good job here. He's like, new people? I don't want new people. No new people, man. And Palin's just like, it's okay. New people are good. Like, I love the dialogue here. Obviously, you mentioned the arc of Danny. This is where it starts. She's having a bad trip. All it took was saying the word family, and that was a trigger for her. And since that word happened, all of a sudden her trip goes bad, and she's running off on her own. She thinks people are laughing at her, which that is a very creepy group. Like, I know they're just laughing and joking and playing like normal people, but in the sense that we're seeing it through the eyes of someone that's on mushrooms, it's very, very creepy. And she runs off on her own. Bad idea. She goes into that bathroom, sees just a glimpse of her sister in the mirror. I thought that was really good, because if you don't see it, or if you're not looking for it, you may miss it. Like, it's just, boom, it's right there, and then it's gone. I think that's a really, really good shot. I love it. Also love, she passes out, falls asleep, and she wakes up, talks about, what time is it, or is it tomorrow? And Christian goes, yeah, from yesterday's perspective, which I thought that was pretty funny.
That's a great line.
That's a great line. It's really, really good. They get to their normal stop, and, these people were nice, but even as a viewer, if you went into this movie not seeing a promo, not seeing a trailer, you don't know a diddly dang thing about it, you would still think these people were creepy. Like, this is like, you're almost too nice, where you're like, something's off here. They're very welcoming. When it talks about, oh, I like your outfit, or girly, isn't it, or whatever. Like it's just like really, really like very hinting at they're one with nature because like in nature, gender and all that stuff. But the point is, they creep me out, man. And then you get my man Pele. I say my man, not my man Pele, drawing this girl something for her birthday, which look, Christian's a dick for forgetting her birthday. You should not forget your significant other's birthday ever, 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 ever. Fuck Christian. However, my man Pele using it as a weapon of mass destruction coming in. He knew this man knows he can draw. Draws her a half-ass picture. Looks all nice. It's very thoughtful. Here's Christian. All he ends up doing is some giant slab of bread or whatever the fuck that thing is. Last thing, I do love that he can't get the candle to light. It's great. It's symptomatic. I love that. I think it's a really good decision. And her blowing it out, kind of leads to something later. So I like this set of scenes. I think, this is where, to me, the movie still hasn't lost me, but I am starting to get a little bit unnerved. Like, yeah, the whole movie is unnerving, but when we get to this, final, for lack of a better term, final destination where they're going to be, first of all, this place looks like a hellhole. I would never want to visit here. Oh, my God. I am not sleeping in a twin bed at that age. You can kiss my ass. So, I mean, one night, fine, but for every night, fuck off. I'm not doing that. I'd rather sleep on a...
Spoken like a truly rich person.
Oh, here we go. You know what? You're right. I have privilege, and I acknowledge my privilege, and I apologize for that. No, I said privilege. I don't have any money, but I live in a very privileged world around me where I'm able to sleep in a queen bed occasionally. So there you go.
So Christian waiting to take the drugs here was such a it's just even more infuriating because he's
manipulative.
Such a passive piece of shit. Like he doesn't all he's doing. He's that one kind of relationship, like that one kind of partner relationship that you don't want. You don't know where you stand with him, and even though you want to be with him, and from Danny's perspective, she wants to be with him. He just won't come out and be frank with her. Like, just I'll wait for you. He didn't plan on waiting for her. He was like guilting her into saying, "Let's just take it now." Especially when he threw the out to his friends. Well, do you guys want to wait for us? It's like just the tone in his voice and his body language. He knew that she would just go ahead and do it, and he was using it as a manipulative tool. Fuck him. The sunlight. This is where we really get introduced to the fact that it's not going to get dark when they're talking about it's been daylight. It's nighttime now. It's just that was a cool revelation for me to see it there. I had no idea that it did that in Sweden, to be honest with you. I liked her freaking out because the grass was growing through her hand, and as Mike pointed out, the real effects of hallucinogens. Now, to all of our officers that are listening, I have no idea. I'm just going off of what I've heard.
Same.
That to be very accurate depiction there. But it's also step one. But I do like how the grass growing through her hand, like that's phase one. You start to see, as the movie goes on, the plants kind of overtake her more and more in her hallucinations. And it's really, a metaphor of her giving in to joining this fucking cult, for lack of a better term, because that's what they are. I know that they're a family or a neighborhood, community, whatever. They're a cult. And it's funny, Mike, you mentioned if someone had gone into this movie without seeing a clip, without seeing a trailer, without knowing what it's about, without reading about it. I did that. I just knew that it was a highly acclaimed movie. And so I was like, awesome. You know what? I want to just watch it. I didn't look it up. I just pushed play on it when I was scrolling through, I think Amazon one day, Amazon Prime. And I was like, holy shit, these people are creepy. Because at this point, I didn't know what we were getting. I did not know. And I was like, this movie's fucking creepy. Or these people are creepy. So yeah, I did that. So what I was talking about earlier, when I was talking about the cinematography and the camera angles we get, I love the way this movie is shot for the most part. We don't get cut screen. We don't get the camera cuts away to another scene. For the most part, the camera just pans around. and it gives you a different perspective of the same area, the same field. I love the way that's shot because it really puts things in perspective, how close together all these events are unfolding. Later on when we get the tree, the ancient tree or ancestor tree scene, that was going on like right around the corner from where that we were introduced to that scene. I love how the camera angles are shot throughout this whole movie. Then we get, Pele drawing her the picture for her birthday. Like, what an asshole move. You know what you're doing, Pele. At least he didn't paint her like one of his French girls. I knew Mike would like that one. I saw your head.
That's a better 3 hour. That's a better 3 hour movie. Anyway.
But then, like, it's just, God, it's so heartbreaking, though, to hear her blame herself for letting Christian forget her birthday. No. Have some... At some point, though, you do have to stop feeling sorry for a girl and just hope that she has some fucking dignity at one point, because this is getting ridiculous. You should never feel sorry because you didn't remind someone that your birthday that supposedly cares about you. But nevertheless, here we are. I cracked up on the bear scene because he's like, we're just gonna ignore the bear, and he's like, it's a bear.
It's a bear.
That shit cracks me up. There's a lot of funny things in this movie. If you can get past all the disturbing, alarming scenes. But and then, lastly, the thing I put was the sheet mural that we see here. The first time you watch it, you're like, what the fuck kind of art is this? What is going on? Why have they got a very detailed vajayjay here? But then, as the movie unfolds,
the minstrel blood and everything.
And the Kool-Aid
pubes.
And the pubes and the meat pies. Like, what the shit is going on? But as you watch the movie, you realize the entire plot of the movie right there on a sheet. And so that's one of the things that I appreciate. I appreciate a lot. And I think that this movie, more so than most movies that we review, this is a movie that people shouldn't listen to our episode before they watch it. Sometimes I know people do that, but this one, I think you'll appreciate it so much more if you go into it and then listen to us and rewatch it or something like that, because there's a lot of subtleties. Like it was crazy to see it. Oh, that happened on the sheet. Oh my God. That's, anyway, there's a lot more instances like that in the movie. And then, actually one more thing that I do have here, and I'll give it back to you, Nico. So the half-hearted attempt at a birthday cake there, like, that's also can be seen as a metaphor, because Christian gives this half-ass effort, because that's what he does, and it fails. He can't get the candle lit, so it fails. And when it finally works, when it finally looks like there might be some happiness here, she's the one that extinguishes it. Boom, metaphor, because she's the one at the end that decided, nah, this ain't working, Chief. So that was just cool.
Yeah, there's another flip on that at the very end. His Christian's fate in the film. There's a flip on that as well. I'm with you, Dustin. I'm with you 100%. So, there's so much of that stuff in this movie. We're not going to be able to mention it all. Not. Like, that would have taken all day to go to every little subtlety, but it is fun to note those kind of things. I do think anyway. Yeah.
And I would like to point out that this point in the film is when I wrote down that what Mike was talking about earlier. We are an hour in, or an hour and a half in right now to the movie. So we've got, well over, it's about a halfway point.
All right, we hear a baby crying as they lay down to try and sleep. Tomorrow starts the first day of the big ceremonies at a stupa. Christian tries to Google it, but he has no service, and Josh won't tell them what it is. And I wrote, the baby is still crying later into the night. I'd have lost my mind dealing with that. Danny looks at the drawings on the wall. Next morning, we see a ritual dance being performed to some singing. The group goes to one table to feast, and Mark says the girls walk stupid and asks how long they should stand. A bell is rang, and two elders approach and join them at the table. Everyone sits. Josh asks Pele if those are the ones. In perfect symmetry, everyone grabs their silverware and begins to eat. The two elders stand and begin to chant in Swedish as everyone watches on. Another woman stands and the rest do, and they have a toast. The two elders sit and are carried off by people dressed in blue. Mark asks why they're following them and says he's taking a nap. All of the community is assembled at the bottom of a cliff and is looking up to the top. Josh walks to Pele and asks, "What's the book?" It's the Ruby Rotter, their scripture. He asks to read it, but he wouldn't be able to. The female elder rubs blood from her hand on the rune. She holds her hand high to the sky, and Danny begins to panic and breathe heavily. The woman now falls to her death. I wrote just belly flopping onto a rock, and her head explodes, and they're all in shock. Simon and Connie are freaking out, and Ingmar says it's fine, trying to calm them down. The male elder now leaps off the cliff, but he does what, like Chelsea said on Dead Meat, does the pencil dive and absolutely obliterates his legs. The crowd moans and weeps, and other elders take a giant wooden mallet and finish him off with strikes to his face. He hands the mallet to the next person as they continue to bludgeon him. They watch on in shock. Simon drags Connie out saying, "This is fucked, and what's wrong with them?" An elder explains the custom to them. They reach the end of their Harga life cycle. Instead of growing old and dying in pain, they give their life as a gesture. She says the newborn will inherit the lady's name. Ingmar apologizes that he didn't explain it better. Danny tells Christian she needs to not be here right now, and she wants to leave. Danny cries as she walks off. Christian asks Josh if he's okay. He now tells Josh that he's going to do his thesis on Harga. Josh is pissed he's doing his on Midsommar. He confronts him because he says it's unethical and lazy. He tells him to find his own subject and passion, that he's actually invested into this. He says he's going to do it here, and he's open to collaborating, and walks away. Mark is upset they let him sleep through that. Simon tells Connie they leave tomorrow. Josh talks to Pele, and he says the elders wouldn't approve of this. They're very protective. He then tells them that he'll ask the elders. We see Danny packing up now as Pele walks up. She doesn't know why she's here. He says this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. She says she doesn't understand any of this. He says he knows what she's going through. He lost his parents too. He says his parents were burned up in a fire. He knows what it's like. He never had a chance to feel lost because he had a family here. He's always felt held by a real family like everyone deserves, like she deserves, as he holds her hand. He says Christian is what he's talking about. He asked Danny, does Christian feel like home to you, and do you feel held by him? All right, go ahead, Brian. That's the next two scenes.
Man, fuck Pele. All right, so check my scout for ticks, and I'll check yours. Like, I loved the callback right there for the scene earlier that I talked about that I really liked, and when you brought it up when he said someone should tell these girls they're walking stupid. That made me laugh out loud. That may be the funniest line in the movie to me. So this set of scenes is where it gets super monotonous to me. The first half anyway, until the Olympic high dive practice. But we're an hour in here. I mean, we've had nothing but character development. I mean, they've developed the fuck out of the characters of this movie right now. And this is where I talked about earlier. I honestly kind of got a little bit bored. And I mean, you definitely get some more shock value with the sacrifices, and it's definitely that. I mean, it just continues with giving me that what the fuck am I watching vibe at this point, and the effects I want to point out are tremendous. I mean, holy shit, more of those messed up visuals for sure by Aster, but something else like I'm glad they set this in Sweden, because the whole like self-preservation thing, it doesn't really set in with these kids until it's too late. And I think that if this was in like Montana or something, I mean, I think that these kids would be like, what the fuck? I'm out of here. But I think, being set in this movie in Sweden and like the kids being out of their own culture and country, I think it's easier for them to accept this crazy shit. And it's easier for me as an audience member to not be like, well, I would have gotten the fuck out of there. That's not an issue I ever had with this movie. And I think it was very well done and well written. That's all I had.
All right. So in this set of scenes, we should have got our weekly Man Fuck Them Kids award, but we did not. Because I'm sorry, if that baby's crying all night, I might have to put an end to it. And it may not be doing anything to the kid, but I might make that kid an orphan because his parents are going to die for not shutting the kid up. Anyway, the meal was creepy as fuck. Like, I hate how uniform everyone is in this whole scene. And then the two old asses standing up and doing their little ritual and then drinking down and just being instantly sedated. Like, holy fuck, that's chilling. Then when we get out to the when we get out to the cliffs there, number one, that's so bright. Holy shit. Like the optics of that is incredible because you've got the white sand and cliffs or dirt, whatever you want to call it. Plus everybody's wearing white clothes. There are white people and the sun is so bright. Like, holy shit. Like that's, to me, that's one of the rare instances that setting alone is one of the rare instances in a movie where broad daylight could be so much creepier than if had this been done in the dead of night. Just because,
And they like, I don't want to interrupt you, but like I wanted to talk about that. Like it's like this is the reason why they don't shoot in such sunlight like this, because I mean everybody looked, got that like heat looking signature on their heads, like where you can look at somebody that's really hot and everything looks a little distorted. It's like everything you could tell was just so bright.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you pointed that out.
for sure. And then I remember watching this the first time, and when she walks up to the cliff, you're thinking, hold on now. What's going on here? And then they pan back to, the people's faces, and you see Danny's face, and she looks kind of terrified of what could be happening here. But just the fall is shocking, but the lack of reaction from everyone is so much more shocking. Because you think about any clip we've ever seen of someone jumping off a cliff, jumping off a building or everything, everybody's screaming. But the silence was deafening in this instance because it's so unexpected. They're just accepting and okay with this. And then the brutality of the head bashing off the rock and just completely smashing. And then Old Man Rivers gets up there and does the same. And it's just his leg snaps in half. And he's alive. That is even more terrifying because that would be like, if I was going to jump off something with the intent to kill myself, I would not want to survive it because of shit like this. His leg was fucked. And then homeboy comes over there with the Elmer Fudd mallet and just whacks him right in the head. That was crazy. Like the effects that they used there, I thought that was really well done.
Yes.
But
Old Man Rivers definitely broke his hip.
Yeah. And it's just, I have a huge problem here, though. I don't care if Christian wants to stay, if Pele wants to stay, if Mark wants to stay. I don't give a shit who wants to stay. I'm getting the fuck out of there. I don't care. You can't convince me that this is an accepted ritual and I should respect their cultures. Something ain't right. I just saw two old people plummet to their deaths, and one didn't die, and they murdered him with a hammer because that's the most humane way that they could see to do it. Nah, I'm leaving. And even if it's and the walk is too far, and I'd probably die on the way to the nearest city, I'm gonna take that chance. But nevertheless, Pele is a fucking sleazeball after this. Like, Oh my God. If I was Christian, I don't care if I wanted. See, there's a thing called Guy Code. And Guy Code says that my girl is off limits. I don't care if I don't want to be with her anymore. She is off limits, even after we break up for a respectable amount of time, at least, if not forever. She is off limits. You do not try to mow another man's lawn. And that's exactly what Pele's trying to do here. And, it's so sleazy the way he asks her, does he feel like home to you? So, honestly, my biggest takeaway from this set of scenes, as shocking as most of it was fuck Pele. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, the set of scenes is a sandwich where I don't think the two pieces of bread are very good, but the middle, the meat is, a pretty solid deli cut little boar's head. So, look, speaking of boar's head, that's how their heads look. All right, so anyway, hearing the baby crying all the time, no wonder these people are absolutely bonkers. If everyone had to sleep in their room all night long with the baby crying, forget that. I'm sleeping on a bale of hay, man. They raise cattle. I see straw out there. That's where I'm going. I can't sleep in that condition. Not for very long anyway. So, I know Brian's used to that. He's had two of these kid things now, but I'm not. So I'm trying to get some sleep. Anyway, the old couple. And when everyone's sitting down at, the first time I ever saw this, or really the second time, that's when I was really paying attention. Everyone's sitting down, and they're wearing a different color than everyone else. That's something I only noticed on the second time. Like that's the only thing. Like that's only the stuff I'm going to catch on a rewatch where this actually has some significance. But in the first time you see it, you're kind of like, what's going on here? Like it's a very obviously this particular dinner or whatever it is, lunch, whatever the fuck, is different than the rest. And so you get this old couple, you can't understand what they're saying. So again, adds another layer of just intrigue in my mind. And they go up to the cliff, or as I called it the other night, Pride Rock. And there's always, if I can fit a Lion King reference in, I'm getting it in, pal. Don't you forget it. So they walk up there, and this was the first time to me we actually get a little bit of a glimpse of, oh, this isn't just like some weird cult with extreme beliefs. This is a totally different thing. Because, Dustin mentioned it being a cult, and it is, but most cults have a very, out there, bolsterous leader, and everyone's kind of following this leader. This to me doesn't have that. Everyone has kind of equal power for the most part. Like it's a very, like you said, it's a community cult, for lack of a better term. If you put the two together, I think that makes a lot of sense. Anyway, but you get this weird vibe from this community. This is the first time where you're like, oh, this is different. This isn't just some weird cult. This is like some crazy shit. To watch this, by the way, great effects on the old woman's head smashing and busting open like it's a pumpkin. Like it is unreal. And the first time you see it, you're kind of like, oh, fuck, what the hell was that, man? It's great effects. And again, right after that, when you get it close up as they're dragging her by, it's even worse, man. That looks really, really good. It's gross. This old man is outside of his mind, though. Who in the hell chooses to pencil dive to end their life with? That makes no fucking sense. My man jumped off the cliff and hit the rocks like Florida State football. Broke his leg, can't get back up. So we have to take a rubber mallet to it to put it out to pasture. That's what we had to do here. It's the most humane thing. Not saying Florida State football should do that, but it's an option. Anyway, as we see it worked for him because he died. Look, Dustin, I'm with you 100%. I am the I'm sorry. I am Simon. I'm flipping out, dude. I am fuck this place. You people can suck my dick from the back. I'm not staying here anymore. I'm getting out of here. And so I don't care who wants to stay. Now, I will say this. As a viewer, they do a good job of having this woman kind of explain it away. Almost logical to try to accept this culture. It's almost a logical stance to take the way they have her explain it away. Now, I wouldn't fall for it, but if you're vulnerable and emotional and not in a good headspace like Danny is, you're going to kind of buy into what. Now, she wants to get the fuck out, but she doesn't get the fuck out because no one else wants to leave. But I'm with Dustin. I don't give a fuck what you want to do. I'm getting out of here. And so that's kind of what I take away from these scenes is this is the first time we kind of turn the volume up on, oh shit, this is some sinister stuff. And also, last thing, Pele, you suck, pal. you suck. Like, you seem like the comforting, like, you seem like on the surface level of this movie, he seems like the good guy. But you really have to look here at what he's doing. Yes, Christian is a shitty boyfriend and they should have broken up a long time ago. But like, Pele is no better. He's a manipulative piece of shit the entire time, especially with Danny. Do you feel held? Do you feel at home with him? Well, obviously not. And by the way, she's vulnerable. So not only are you coming after her, but you're coming after her in a vulnerable state of mind. So I don't even know if Pele has feelings for her or he just wants her in this cult. I don't know which one it is. But I think it's a very thin line that he walks, and I think now the acting is great. I think they do a good job with that. But that's my takeaway from this scene, man. I love the head explosion. I think it's one of the cooler effects in this movie.
Or we now see the two elders' bodies being roasted over an open fire. Christian walks up and asks Danny how she's doing. She asks if he's disturbed by what they saw. He says it was shocking, but he's trying to keep his mind open and he tells her to try to acclimate. Back in, I just called it the sleeping barn. I can't remember what they called it. And Danny asks Josh for a sleeping pill. She wakes up and looks around and she sees the guys walking outside as Christian hushes not to wake her. She hears a car engine start and they drive off, leaving her behind. She sees all the exhaust from the car, and then the exhaust comes out of her mouth. We see flashes of the two dead elders and her dead parents. We now see Maya awake in bed, holding something. She walks over to Christian's bed and places it under there, and Josh saw her do it. Next day, more singing, and Mark calls out for Pele. Josh asks if he got permission, and they agreed, but he must use aliases in an undisclosed location. Mark walks off to pee, and Josh shows Pele the item from under Christian's bed. It's a love rune. It casts a love spell. Christian walks up and Pele tells him he can do the thesis. He tells him Maya has taken a liking to him. She just got her sex license last year. Ulf snaps on Mark, yelling what he's doing in Swedish. He peed on the ancestral tree. Pele tells him this tree is important. Mark didn't know it was special. Connie walks into the sleeping barn and tells Danny they're leaving. Father calls for her, and Simon has already left without her, and the truck will come back for her. Father says it only fits two. Connie is pissed that he didn't tell her. This is bullshit, she says. He tells Danny that lunch is in a bit. Danny tells Christian Simon left without Connie and asks if she's okay. He now asks if there's an issue with incest. He's told the elders must approve mates. We must invite outside people sometimes to prevent incest. Danny is asked to join the women, and she asks if they've seen Simon. Danny helps the other women make meat tarts. A father shows Josh the ruby rotter. It's a work forever in progress. He asks who decides what gets added. This is Reuben's. He's disabled since birth. He draws and the elders interpret. He's unclouded by normal cognition. He asks what happens when Reuben dies. He's a product of inbreeding. All oracles are a product of inbreeding. He asks to take a picture, but he's forbidden. Danny and Mark hear a woman screams in the distance. Mark sees his crush and walks off from her. Supper is ready, we hear. Back to the table, and the meat tarts are passed out. Danny asks about Connie, and someone tells her they drove her to the station. She asks why he'd leave without her, and Kristen says probably miscommunication. Danny says she could see him doing that. Mark is getting some evil stares about the tree still. Christian finds a hair in his meat tart, and his drink is of off color from everyone else's. It's a pubic hair, and Mark freaks out. Mark's crush pulls him away from the table to show him something. All right, go ahead, Brian.
Yes. So the two elders being burned here, I mean, okay, so what are my thoughts? Besides, like, what the fuck am I watching? Let's go with great effects on the bodies. I will definitely go with that. That was top notch. And you know what? Fuck another fuck Pele moment. Mark pissing on that tree is 100% Pele's fault. I mean, he clearly said very loudly that he was going over there to piss, and Pele very obviously knows that, general direction, distracted or not, it doesn't matter what you're doing. He let him go do that. Fuck Pele. And just want to point out that the period blood in Christian's drink here, 100% the grossest fucking thing in this movie to me. Like, reminded me of the meat pies from Sweeney Todd. Like, and some shit just does different things for different people, but I don't know. That shit just grosses me out anyways with meat pies. But the thought of pubes, the period blood, I don't even know what to say about that besides it was fucking disgusting. This set of scenes definitely makes me uneasy. Probably for the first time, I'm really, really feeling it here. It's probably the most uneasy I've felt in the whole movie, which, I mean, I know that was the intention. And again, fuck, it definitely worked. I was very happy when the set of scenes was over. It's that weird transition group of scenes where you don't know where this is going, but you know where this is going. So you're kind of like, all right, fuck it, let's get to the next group. Let's get to the next group. You're like, I definitely felt the intention. I feel like behind Aries' uneasiness that he was trying to set with this group of scenes. But that's all I had.
So on this set of scenes, I mean, we start off first of all seeing them burn the bodies. At this time in the movie, if you haven't seen it, it makes a lot of sense. But this is one of those instances kind of doesn't make sense to me at the end, knowing what we know is gonna happen, because that's the only two bodies. Spoiler: there are other bodies. It's the only 2 bodies missing. So it's kind of weird to me that they burned them at this point and not the others. But I get it. Maybe because when you learn about the ancestor tree, they dumped the ashes. I guess they dumped the ashes of all the 90-year-olds that, or 72-year-olds, however they are. Burn the ashes of all of them that die. But it's odd, I guess, to me that they pick and choose. They burn some there and some at the end. Whatever. Him pissing on the tree didn't really make sense to me, because have they been pissing wherever they want the whole movie? We don't know. So if they have not, then it's really weird that he chose, hey, I got to go take a piss. I'm going to walk across this field where I just saw them placing the ashes, and I'm just going to piss on it. And we know that we saw them place the ashes because this is one of those great shots I was talking about, how the camera just pans the field, and we literally saw them dumping the ashes, and then it pans over to where they're talking, and he just walks over there and pisses on the tree. I could understand him getting killed maybe because of, we hear how important it is to this man. This older guy breaks down and cries because someone pissed on the ancestors. That's a very sacred thing to them. So yeah, you piss on my ancestors. I can understand maybe having a motive to kill him. I'm not condoning it, but I understand. Then we get to the dinner, and this is, again, where that sheet really foreshadowed everything, because you see him bite into his meat pie, and he pulls out a pube. Fucking disgusting. Literally, my worst fear is going to a restaurant and taking a bite. Like, I hate finding hair in my food, but I have this irrational fear that I'm going to find a pube in my food sometimes. So this really made me want to throw up. And my man sat down and asked the waiter for a glass of Henny, and instead they brought him a drink that tasted like pennies. I don't get it, but
wow, that's impressive.
Couldn't help myself. But no, this set of scenes was very. I didn't take a whole lot of notes. There was a lot to unpack here, but it's kind of one of those set of scenes that just you're trying to unpack everything that you're seeing, I think, is how I felt. And so I didn't take a whole lot of notes, but those were the things that definitely stood out to me.
Yeah, so I'm kind of with you guys. Not a whole lot to take away from this set of scenes to me. This is probably my least favorite set. It gets a little boring outside of the whole period blood thing, which is just fucking gross. Not even because it's period blood. It's just blood in general. Just I don't need blood in my fucking juice or whatever the fuck. So I'll take that's a no-go for me. The 2 elders being roasted looks good. It's good effects, but I mean, is it implied there that that's what the meat tarts end up being? Like, I don't know. That's what I took away from it, which is fucking gross as well. Like, I don't.
Oh, even grosser.
I don't know. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I'm wrong there, but if that's the case, that's even fucking worse. And then you get, the stray hair in there, and it's just, I mean, this set of scenes just screams gross. I will say it's hilarious when the girl pulls Mark away from the table, because he goes, "Here, I'm going to show you," and it's like, "Huh, me? Yeah, you." And he goes, "Okay, see you guys. I guess she's going to show me." Like, God, Mark added some much needed.
That was funny.
Mark needed some much needed levity to this set of scenes. Now, what happens to Mark after this is very, very unfortunate for him. But yeah, not a whole lot of notes on this set of scenes because it's a lot of dialogue and again, just a lot of what the hell, Ari? We don't need to see all this, man. This is what I'm talking about, the bloated runtime. That's all I'm saying.
All right, that night, Danny asked for another sleeping pill. Josh goes to sleep with his shoes on. We see him sneak out and into the room with the ruby rotter. He breaks the rules and takes photos of it. Someone walks in the room wearing Mark's face, and Josh is backed in the back of the head by someone else. Josh's body is drug away. A trumpet plays to wake everyone up. Danny asks about where they're all at breakfast. An elder announces the ruby rotter is missing, and they ask for it to be returned. An elder asks where's their friend Josh, and Christian says they don't associate with him at all. They tell Danny she's going with the women for activity, and Siv wants to see Josh in her house. A woman hands the ladies some type of drink to get them high. They tell Danny this is the big one. She asks what is it? It's tea for the competition. The ladies grab hands, and Danny sees her feet turning into grass. Irma says it was here the black one lured the youth here to the grass of Harga and seduced them to death. They could not stop. We dance until we fall. Who survives last will be rewarded. Music starts to play and the women begin to dance around the maypole. Christian is sitting in a room staring at a picture of a bear on fire when he's asked to come into another room. Siv asks him how he feels about Maya. He's been approved to mate with her, and she's fixed her hopes on him. He says he ate one of her pubic hairs. He walks outside and sees the dancing. We see Danny smiling and cheerful as she dances. Christian joins the crowd and watches on. Maya walks by and stares at him. A woman brings Christian some drink. Spring water with special properties. It breaks down your defenses. She tells him he won't have a bad trip and he drinks it. They continue to dance and Danny starts to speak and understand Swedish. Danny is the last woman standing. She is the new May Queen. They give her a flower crown and celebrate her. She thinks she sees her mom and Pele plants a smooch on her. She stands on a platform and she's carried away as they sing to her. We're at the dinner table now and Christian sits down by an elder man. Danny grabs her silverware and begins to feast and everyone joins after. They give her a herring that she must eat whole but fails to do so. Christian is tripping hard right now. They all take a toast for Danny. A woman asks if she's part of the family now. Christian watches Maya walk away, and she motions for him to follow her. We see Pele drawing another portrait of Danny. An elder stands up and says it's tradition for the May Queen to bless the crops and livestock. She stands and asks if Christian can come with her, but she must ride alone. She takes a torch and follows a flower girl into a carriage. The women pull her away. Another flower girl walks towards Christian. They pour seed into the ground, a piece of meat, and crack an egg, and Danny covers it in dirt. She now recites a song holding a plant and holding the torch with her. And the next two scenes are the ending. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, just a little fun fact right off the bat here. When Josh sneaks away to take pictures of that ruby radar, he thinks that he sees Mark obviously standing in the doorway of the temple. We don't. It is apparently Ulf, I guess is how you say his name, the man who screamed at Mark for urinating on the tree to begin with. He's the one that's actually wearing Mark's skin, and that's confirmed by the screenplay. Earlier, Mark had asked Josh if he thought that Ulf was going to kill him for urinating on the tree, though. And even though it happens off screen, which spoiler alert's my least favorite kill, this is exactly what happens. Well, actually, we'll talk about that later because he's the one. Never mind, we'll talk about that later. But damn, like, can we talk about how fucking brutal it was to just like stay on Josh after he just got hit with that mallet and just like listening to him moan like that? That was actually pretty damn disturbing. Such just honestly a heavy weight was on my chest watching the set of scenes. That really a big sense of unease, and I did laugh though when Christian said, "I think I ate one of her pubic hairs," but her response was like, "Sounds probably right." I mean that I don't know that made me laugh, but just the use of the soundtrack, with the heavy breathing with Danny as she's kind of becoming under the influence, but. Again, I kind of go back to the problem of this entire dance sequence by just being way too long to me. I was very much so ready to get to the next set of scenes. It drug on and drug on and drug on. But it is a very cool thing to kind of see Danny's arc further down that roller coaster that I talked about. I mean, you can see how anyone like really vulnerable like that would be. I mean, you can see how they would find happiness and acceptance in something like this, some cult like this. And, if that's what they're searching for in their lives, I think very symbolic, as she's kind of carried away to be leaving Christian in the dust, basically, both physically and, symbolically. And actually another fun fact, when Danny's lifted into the pedestal to be carried to the dinner table, you can apparently see, you can make out her sister's face in the trees with an exhaust tube in her mouth, which I actually didn't see that upon this rewatch. But, after reading that, I went back and checked it out. But last thing, I didn't understand, and maybe I missed it, but I didn't understand the burying the meat thing. Like, I didn't, did they explain that? Did I just completely miss that?
That's blessing the crops and livestock.
That's what I was. Yeah.
With what meat? What meat was
cow?
That?
They have cows
Yeah,
there, and I
there's
think they have
cows
chickens.
through the,
All right, okay. Hey, with as many people as they're cutting out and taking off, I didn't know if that was like a person or like what that was there. So okay, that's all I had.
Yeah, this thing with Danny asking Josh for sleeping pills is like their only interaction ever. It's almost like he forgets her existence. which I think is kind of indicative of who he is. He's just so singularly focused on this one thing. Brutal kill of Josh. Not even so much. It's not like a creative kill or anything, but just the way it's just bam. It's quick. They stay on him. I love the shot of him kind of doing his little flinch. It's not over the top. It's very realistic. My dumbass, my man Josh is a dumbass for going in there and taking a picture with the flash on. Come on, dude. Come on, Ruben. Ruben is right there. Hello. That's kind of his deal. He's supposed to be the seer of what's happening here. Like, it just blows my mind for how smart and educated this man is supposed to be. He goes in there and does some dumbass shit like that. Just kind of blows my mind. Skinned Mark is creepy, man. Like, that is a really creepy scene. He went full Buffalo Bill with that thing, schlong and all, man. You saw everything. It wasn't. It's a lot. And the skin on his face looks like.
Well, that was a lot. The schlong? What are you talking about?
The whole thing.
Is this the first time that we've said the word?
The whole thing, brother.
Entire show.
I don't know. I highly doubt that it is. I highly doubt.
I don't remember. I would remember schlong.
Well, here you go. First time for everything.
Anyway, let's move on.
First time for everything. But yeah, it's a lot. The skin on his face looks like the really bad leather face from, I believe that's Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, which is a movie that Nico still has to watch. Can't wait. But anyway, so again, brutal kill. Love the way they stay on that shot. I think it's very realistic. It's really, really good. Then you get, you kind of, at this point in the film, you almost forget that Danny and Christian are even a thing. This community has done such a good job of pulling them apart so much, you almost forget that that's what this is. And so, Christian not really being there for this whole May Queen thing. By the way, Brian, I agree with you. I like this dancing stuff, but it takes forever. They're playing, Ring Around the Rosie for a fucking hour, which is ridiculous. Like, we could have shortened that up and got the point across much, much quicker to me. The term May Queen, I really didn't know. Now, there's some good stuff in that dance scene, like the interactions with Danny and the other women and how they're kind of just like very joyous. And like you said, Brian, you could see her being very accepting of having some people that actually acknowledge her existence with, actual conversation and emotion and everything else, when like no one on this whole trip has given her anything, or, since her family passed even. So like just another thing of like, they're manipulating her to get her to accept what's going on here. And they're doing a good job. The term May Queen makes me think of Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin every time. So that was kind of fun to hear it actually used the proper way. And, I actually really think, and I know, it's kind of weird burying meat in the crops and all that, but I think it's kind of a beautiful scene where Danny and the other woman's name is slipping me are singing back and forth in a language that I wouldn't even be able to possibly decipher. But if someone's like, repeat after me, and starts singing in a different language, and you expect me to be able to repeat that back to you, you got another thing coming, man. I would not be able to, like, I need a full script to memorize that song. But I thought it was a beautiful scene, really well shot. I like that we're starting to see the character of Danny really kind of go this different direction, starting to become a stronger person. And you can see this quote unquote cult is kind of helping her heal.
Yeah, so, first of all, Josh getting hit in the head with the mallet was shocking for sure, especially the brutality of it and the uneasy feeling you got when you see his body just laying there twitching and squirming. But he brought it on himself. He should have respected the traditions. He knew better than to do what he was doing. They told him that he could document all of this under strict guidelines and rules. He didn't do that. So it kind of makes you wonder, had Josh and Mark been model citizens, like would they have survived? I don't think so, because that was the whole point of Pele bringing them in, right? Because they needed 4 outsiders to die. So it's very shocking that, or it's very questionable whether they would have lived or not had they had played by the rules. But the scene where he walks in wearing Mark's body, ding dong and all, that was creepy. That mask Mark's face looked better than the mask in several of the Halloween movies. But it also is funny because the guy that played Mark, Will Poulter, he looked like the guy that played Joker in the show Gotham. Like they kind of resemblance to each other. And in the show, if you've seen the show Gotham, he dies. Jerome dies, quote unquote, and they cut his face off and wear it to become the new Joker. And that's what it looked like to me. That was funny. That was just a weird coincidence, I guess. But now you mentioned the dance scene, the dance sequence being too long. Here's my devil's advocate rebuttal. I think it did exactly what it's supposed to do, because from what I've been told, I have no firsthand knowledge of it. But when you're on a trip, sometimes you feel like it's going on forever and you just want it to be over with. And I think that's what this was supposed to drive. The feeling it was supposed to drive home was a never-ending trip that you just can't get out of, and it keeps going and keeps going. Oh my God, is it ever going to be over? The grass is growing through her feet. What the fuck? And so that's another part of what I was talking about earlier. How this is even more. The plants are taking over her. It's like she's just becoming more and more assimilated into this cult and this culture. But I just think he did it intentionally. Everything about this movie was very intentional. And I think that's clear with all the subtleties that he hides everywhere in the movie. But that, I think, was very intentional, how long that dance sequence went on. I do like how Christian, air quote, didn't want to do the drug water. Because if he didn't want to do it, he didn't have to do it. But my man was like, no, I don't want to have a bad trip. But come on. He ended up doing it anyway. And all it took was a look to his right and seeing his redheaded lover there. But overall, it's just it was a good set of scenes. I don't have anything bad to say about this movie at all, really. But as far as blessing the crops, I thought it was funny when they were dancing, and she was like, "I want to speak Swedish," and she's like, "You are," but in reality, she's just like blah 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 blah. She sounded like the Swedish chef from the Muppets. I thought that was funny. So go ahead, Nico.
All right, here's the ending, and there's a lot of cool stuff coming up. Back to Christian, he takes another drug as he breathes in some smoke. For his vitality, they say. The doors are open and we see several naked women arm to arm, and Maya naked on a bed of flowers. An older woman pulls off his robe. Danny is doing more singing rituals, and Christian gets on top of Maya to have sex. He kisses her and begins. A woman holds Maya's hand and sings to her to comfort her for the first time. The women get closer and closer and sing and chant. We see Reuben in bed listening on. Danny arrives back and overhears what's going on with Christian. They tell her she should not go, but she does anyways. She looks through the keyhole and sees what's going on. She's sick to her stomach and vomits and begins to weep loudly. The women escort her away into the sleeping barn and lie her down and comfort her. She crawls to the ground and she cries even harder, and the women all cry along with her, holding her. Back to Christian, and a woman gives him some motivation, pushing on his butt cheeks as he thrusts. He finishes, and Maya says she feels the baby. Christian runs out the building, but
Sorry, I
naked.
never thought you'd say that on this show.
What?
Pushing on
His butt cheeks as he thrusts.
That's what happens.
I just never thought we'd have it on this show. Jesus.
Well, that's what we get when we pick this movie.
All right. Christian runs out the building butt naked. He runs away when he sees people and hears the women crying. He runs and sees Josh's leg and foot sticking out of the earth. He makes it into a chicken coop where he sees Simon's body blood-eagled and his lungs are still breathing. He crawls under him and sees flowers in his eyes. He turns around and has more drugs blown into his face. He falls to the ground dazed, and they close his eyes one at a time. I think her name is Ula, wakes Christian up and tells him he can't speak or move. Danny is covered in a flower suit and a crown. Siv says today is a day of reciprocity. We surrender 9 lives. As Harga gives, it takes. 4 from Harga, 4 new bloods, and 1 chosen by the May Queen. Ingmar and Ulf have volunteered. Pele is honored for unclouded intuition for bringing the new blood in the new May Queen. For the 9th offering, May Queen chooses the last. A name is chosen like bingo style, is Tourbillon. Danny must choose between Tourbillon and Christian. She chooses Christian to be the 9th offering. We see Connie's body wheelbarrowed to the sacrificial temple. Mark has been turned into a scarecrow type figure. They begin to place the bodies on bales of hay. We now see the bear being disemboweled as an elder shows the youth how to do it. Christian's body is laid beside it now. He is now wearing the bear carcass as a suit and placed in the temple. They banish him to the deepest recesses so he can reflect on his wickedness. A priest-type figure gives Ingmar and Ulf a drug so they don't feel pain. They now light the hay bales on fire with Christian in the bear suit right in the middle. Danny and the rest of the cult watch on and sing. The fire consumes the bodies, and we hear Ulf and Ingmar scream in pain as the fire consumes them. The cult begin to dance and scream in celebration, I assume. We see Danny walking in with his giant flower suit on, and she looks at the people. She begins to smile as she watches the temple fall to the ground in flames. And that's the ending, Brian. Go ahead.
Yeah, I really wish Pele would have died. I wish he would have been one of the ones that they kind of volunteered because I mean, not only did I want to see him die anyway, but like those two that volunteered had like to me no emotional tie to anything in the movie, and so I don't know. It just to me it would have like to see Pele and the other dude I can't remember his name right off the bat that brought the other two. I think that I don't know. I think that would have just been more effective. I don't know. And you brought it up. I thought that's what I was talking about earlier. I wasn't sure if who was butterflied, hanging like that. I thought that was Mark at first, and so, but it wasn't. Obviously, you just said who it was, so I just okay, I got that now. The sex scene definitely something. So I'll let Mike and Dustin talk more about that one, but Aster goes back to that almost shock porn aspect of visuals, but he goes back to the root of the story, which like I said earlier was Danny finally having control of her own future. But I did think that whole thing kind of went on a little bit too long too. Fun fact I had. After the sex scene, Christian was supposed to run away in the robe, that he entered in. Jack Rayner himself suggested that Christian run out completely nude to appear more vulnerable. Thus he appears fully nude when trying to escape. Rayner was inspired by having recently watched The Last House on the Left. Like many films in the horror genre, he said, female characters are disrobed, humiliated, and assaulted before their demise. He felt that it was due time that a male character be made to suffer the same indignity. I completely get that, and that kind of brings into, especially when he says that the female characters are assaulted. And I get that the overall arc and Christian was a complete asshole. Complete asshole. Definitely, he deserved to die. But to me, the final straw in Danny's eyes was his betrayal. And I mean, but the dude was raped. I mean, am I wrong in saying that? Should to me like not the betrayal have been something more of like from his own choice, like he freely made the choice to go and cheat on her, and that was kind of the end of it. I think having him like be drugged and raped like that to me is like, I don't know. It just kind of like I don't feel sorry for him, but I'm like, well, damn, I don't know. I to me, I wish that would have been handled a little bit differently. But yeah, I'm done, and I don't really know what else to say with the rest of it. I was pretty much done here. I just felt like the movie was over, but then there was like 30 minutes left after Christian gets knocked out, and I was like, oh my god, like, was it interesting? Yeah, I mean, like it was, but at that point in the movie, I was like, oh my god, like get it over with. So I felt like if they cut a lot of the stuff that we talked about earlier, that I talked about earlier, that I wanted cut, then this wouldn't have drug on so much to me, if that makes sense. Go ahead.
Man, that lung butterfly, whatever you want to call that's something, man. It's good effects. I love the shot. I think it's really well done. Again, I'm kind of like you, where the first time I saw it, I honestly didn't know whose skin. Like, I didn't know that was Mark's skin. I didn't know that was Simon hanging up. It took another rewatch to kind of catch who was who and
Simon.
who was who. Who died this certain way. But man, that's something. And again, they just keep drugging the piss out of this man, Christian. I mean, it is as bad as he is. He's a bad boyfriend. I get it. I understand it. We agree 1,000%. He sucks ass. But they're drugging this man, and that's a little fucked up because, like you said, Brian, I mean, this is rape. I mean, this sex scene is technically a male rape. And, now I say that on the flip side of that, Brian, this scene, I'm sorry, it's funny. There's some funny shit in this scene. Yeah. It's hard not to laugh when it starts happening and there's these, naked old ladies standing around and everybody's humming along with her, moaning with her. Her mom holds her hand and she's singing, and the singing is actually beautiful, like really good. Like it's not like it's like actual beautiful voice coming out, and she's holding her hand while she's having sex, and it's so awkward and uncomfortable, the whole thing, and meanwhile Danny's on this carriage ride around the village or whatever because she's the May Queen. I think it's very intentional that room is as loud as it is, so Danny will go check it out. She defies the people of this community and goes and looks in there anyways. But I think that's on purpose. I think it's very intentional, and that's when you get the old woman pushing on Christian's ass cheeks, and you just you can't not laugh at that. It's never not funny to see that happen, and you get just some really weird butt cheek shots. And again, I'll give Ari Aster credit for having just very, very normal nudity. And what I mean is he doesn't sexualize it. Yes, this is a very sexual scene, but he doesn't sexualize anybody's body or whatever. It's just this person's naked. This person has an ass. This person has a vagina, so on and so on and so on. And so just a really creepy scene. When it's over, she does the kneel to the chest thing, she's doing abdominal crunches or, reverse crunches and to try to keep the baby in. And that's just, again, very creepy. Not my favorite thing they did. Man walks out. Don't look at me like that. Man walks out. He's butt ass naked. He's got a bloody dick, which we talked about at the beginning of the show, unfortunately. And my man had a moment of clarity after being, to quote Jay-Z, a moment of clarity. My man, this man runs around full butt ass naked. So he's not thinking that clear, but I think he just realized what the hell happened here. And he's freaking out. I think that's well acted by the actor who plays Christian, whose name I'm drawing a blank on right now.
Jack Rayner.
Yeah, Jack Rayner. Great job. I mean, I think it's just a really, really good job of keeping that character. I'm with you, though. They drug him again, and then, which again, kind of fucked up, put him inside this bear. And I knew that bear would come back into play the first time I ever saw this. There's no way they would just have a random fucking bear in this movie, because everything that Ari Aster puts in his movies means something. And so I knew that they would have him in this bear, and I think it's very telling that at the end of this movie, it's Christian, the one that's trapped, while the whole commune is looking and giving the attention to Danny. When throughout this entire film, no one gave Danny the time of fucking day, and she was the one that was trapped. And I think it's very fitting. It's a fitting death. However, I don't necessarily think his fate with being raped is justified. That's not you go moment. That's not cool. So I don't agree with that. But as a character arc, obviously I think his fate is sealed, and he dies inside that bear suit, can't move, can't speak. Some of the sacrifices are weird. I don't like how they quote unquote randomly do it when it's and then they had a giant fucking lottery ball thing, which I did not expect at this commune in the middle of fucking nowhere. I thought that was kind of random. But anyway, I think the last thing here, the barn burning down or whatever you call that, the temple or whatever, is a really good scene. I think it's, this is a very poignant moment that tells this cult lies to people, because they give these two guys tree saps and say they're not going to feel anything. And as soon as they walk away and my man is on fire, he screams in agony for his life. So this whole commune is full of shit. But in that last shot, where Danny's face goes from kind of being horrified to having a moment to where she's happy, she's accepted this. She's officially been brainwashed into this society, and so it worked. And I don't think it's a happy ending. It's not a happy ending to me. It's actually a very sad ending. It's a tell. It's a tale of, you can see how someone in her state would end up with something like this, and this is how cults continue to work. And so I think it's a really well done ending. I just don't think it's a very happy ending. And I haven't enjoyed this whole movie. Like, this is not a very happy ending to a not a very happy movie. So, I mean, I guess if that's the point, then job well done.
All right, so what the fuck is this sex scene? Come on, man. Like, this is this scene that I was talking about earlier and in our group text. Like, this sex scene is nuts. No pun intended. It's just, yeah, okay. Yes. Was he drugged and taken advantage of? Yes. Did he put himself in that position? No. He could have said no to the initial drugs. He started to and then turned it away. But then he looked at his girl over there and got the motivation. Well, let's get fucked up and get a little weird here. So, I'm not saying it's justified, but I am saying he's reaping what he's sowing. And poor Danny, man, for her to have to, witness this or just be whisked away on what's supposed to be a joyous time for her. She's being celebrated for once in her life. And meanwhile, her boyfriend's out there getting his freak on in a barn full of winches. The lung butterfly was awesome. That looked like a death we'd see in a Saw movie. Somebody strung up like that. I thought that was cool because he technically was still alive. You could see him. You can see the lungs pulsate a couple times. So there was at least 2 breaths being taken there. And that apparently is an old Viking tradition of stringing someone up and letting them suffer. But that was cool. And then, at this point, this is where you see, like, she's all in. So you had the grass kind of going through her hand. You had the grass growing through her feet. You had her sitting in the throne that was covered in plants, and the plants were kind of responding to her moving. So the plants are accepting her. And then she's all in. She's wearing a dress and a crown that's completely made of flowers. And she looks like a flower child. And then she picked Christian. Like, holy shit. That's an intense thing to do. So I said that had I been there, the Man Fuck Them Kids award would probably go to me because of that crying baby. But here's the actual Man Fuck Them Kids award this week. This baby that he apparently put in this young lass is going to grow up a bastard because they just, like, not 10 minutes after post-coital, they decide that we're going to kill him. So that's kind of shocking. I thought the bear suit was a pretty fly way to go. Like, if I'm going to be killed, if someone out there is listening to this and you are making designs on my life, please put me in a bear suit. That seems like a cool way to go. Although I bet that heat was truly unbearable. I did think that the ending was very powerful and ambiguous because, like you said, Mike, like, she's just given in and she's going to join this cult and everything. But there's another way you can look at it and say that she's finally flipped her shit. Like, she is insane now. That laugh is not okay, I'm here. It's an insanity laugh and smile that she's given there. So there's a couple ways you can look at it, and I like that he leaves it up to interpretation because there's so many different ways your mind could go with everything in this movie. And it's a very long movie, I'll admit that. But I think the last half of it is so eventful that I don't mind it. I didn't, in retrospect, I don't even mind how kind of uneventful it is in the middle or the beginning of the film, just because the final product is such a head scratcher of a movie. Really, I walked away from this movie feeling the same way that I did after I watched Requiem for a Dream, just completely mind fucked and uneasy and not feeling well about myself. And I think that means that both of these movies succeeded in what they were trying to do.
All right. Any more final thoughts before we jump to a fan question? All right. Michelle, she asked, this movie is a very interesting one for sure. There's a lot of symbolism in this movie, a lot more than most movies, I would say. How do you guys feel about the symbolism? Do you think it adds to the film or is it too much? And after y'all go, I'm just going to name off some of the things that those YouTube videos brought up that I really like.
I'll go ahead and go because, like, I have that different perspective than you guys on it, but, not really liking the movie that much. But I think that any time that a movie adds so much stuff into it that you can rewatch it and catch new stuff every time, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. I actually think it makes the movie better. Any movie that I need a second rewatch for, 9 times out of 10, I don't like. But because there's so much symbolism and different stuff in here that you can catch on a rewatch, I think that helps. I think it enhances the film experience.
Yeah, I'll agree because, like I said, this was my second time watching it, and then knowing how it plays out because I've seen it before, and I'm seeing these things that I may not have even realized I was seeing before. But I guess I'm looking for them now. It's just I completely agree with that.
Yeah, I like it a lot, honestly, and I'm just going to touch on a few of the things that they brought up in the YouTube videos from Looper, and I want to say it's spoiler reviews or something like that, but like we've already touched on the foreshadowing in the opening tapestry. Dustin brought it up earlier, but their last name Ardor being flame, I think that's a great touch. If you look whenever the camera is going over Danny's parents, you see flowers over Danny's picture. So that's early symbolism, early foreshadowing. Danny, when she's napping, when Christian walks in, she's under this bear portrait. I like that. This is my favorite one probably. Whenever Danny walks upstairs into Christian's apartment, there's three subtle placements of scarecrows in there to represent Christian, Josh, and Mark's death. I really like that. Danny's blanket has the shining pattern from the carpet in The Shining. That's on her blanket. I love that. And the one Brian brought up with Danny's sister's image in the trees. You can, like, once you point it out, you can't not see it. So I really love all that subtle stuff that Ari put into this movie.
Well, the design from the carpet in The Shining, that was of course the launch pad from the supposed NASA launch. So yeah, that's a good point as well because we've never been to space. Go ahead.
All right, let's jump into fun facts.
That's not a fun fact. Damn it.
That is fun fact. Fun fact: NASA is some goddamn liars.
Oh, here we go.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
Let's transition real quick.
Go back and listen to the Shining episode if you want all that.
I got these fun facts from IMDb. When the film was released in Sweden, rather than eliciting fear in the audience, many people laughed. Many Swedish critics praised the film as an excellent black comedy. Mark displays an extreme phobia of ticks, which is based on Ari Aster's real-life fear of bugs and illness. Like Mark, Aster wore 2 pairs of socks over his jeans to ensure he would not receive bug bites. And the last one I got is just, I think it's kind of cool. Ariana Grande is a fan of the film, calling it one of her favorite films of 2019. She tried and failed to buy the May Queen gown using the film at an auction. She also threw a Midsommar-themed birthday party for herself on her 27th birthday.
Yeah, I got that one as well, but I was going to follow it up by saying that my suspicions were confirmed that she's a fucking weirdo. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, who throws a themed party about this cult that kills people? That's awesome. Great job.
Who loves this movie that much that they want to own that dress? Dude, I'm serious. She is a weird person.
Also, fun fact, I found out you can buy that script that kind of tells you the whole movie's happening. Those pictures, those really gross ones with the open vagina. You can buy a poster of that if you want it.
Hey, Mike, I appreciate that fun fact. Thank you, Nick.
All right, well, Ariana can definitely call me. I just got one that's pretty long, and that's not what she said. It's actually a fact. So Midsommar is actually how Ari Aster pronounces it. Midsommar. I think that's because there's another movie called Midsommar that's spelled with an ER that was released in 2003, and it's a Swedish horror movie, but they're unrelated. I think he did it intentionally because he didn't want people to confuse the two. It's Midsommar. But anyway, the feast turns around the number 9. The complete ritual lasts for 9 days. 9 lives are sacrificed to purify the town. In addition, Pele explains Danny and the rest of the newcomers that the cycle of life conceived by Harga's people marks at 18 years, the end of childhood, which is 9 times 2, the end of youth at 36 years, 9 times 4, the end of maturity at 54 years, 9 times 6, and the age and the end of life at 72, which is 9 times 8. In addition, the feast itself is celebrated every 90 years, 9 times 10. implying that each one of the sacrificed equaled 10 years of purity for Harga's people. Even the feast name, Midsommar, has 9 letters. And at the beginning of the movie, when Danny leaves a message for her parents, the answering machine number counts up to 9 before it leaves the frame. And the importance of the number 9 derives from the old myth of Odin, who is the father of all Norse gods. And so I thought that was very interesting attention to detail to incorporate that many instances of 9. So great job there, Mr. Astor.
Yeah, man, they definitely took a lot of, I didn't write them down, but just kind of listening to some stuff on this, they took a lot of inspiration from old pagan rituals, old Nordish rituals, all that stuff. So I really think they did a good job of paying attention to that kind of stuff, where they kind of did a melting pot of different, and Swedish stuff and all that. So I mean, Midsummer is a real thing in Sweden. This cult or whatever just kind of fucked it up. So the budget was $9 million. It made $48 million. So that's pretty damn good. And it's honestly, to me, this is not, you don't make this movie to make a lot of money. You make this movie for the art. And so I think that's why within this community, it's so beloved or hated, honestly, depending on where you fall on that line. But I don't think this movie is about the box office at all. I would consider it more so not a cult classic, but definitely a cult hit, because I remember the hype around the movie and stuff, but like I do think more people have seen it in the last year, probably, especially since the pandemic. More people probably have seen it then than they did in the theater. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I would agree. It's been free on Prime
Yeah,
for a
yeah,
while,
exactly.
so I'm sure it's
it's been free. Yeah,
probably been watched
Yep.
a lot. All right, let's jump into the rating. Does anybody want to go first? Favorite kill, least favorite kill, and
I'll
rating?
go first.
I'll do it. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I feel like I haven't gone first in a while. Volunteering, sacrificial lamb. Here I go. My least favorite kill is Mark, because it's an off-screen kill. He gets skinned. That's great and everything, but you don't get to see it, kind of thankfully. So that's still my least favorite kill. My actual favorite kill is Christian, because there's just something about going out in a bear suit, man. That's like it's fucked up the scenario of how we get there. But my man went out in a bear suit. I mean, he went full ass Leonardo DiCaprio in Revenant, and that's how he died. I mean, that's pretty fucking sweet to me, man. So that's probably my favorite kill. Okay. I've pretty much worn out my voice talking about this film, so I don't have a whole lot more. But what I will say, I will give the director, Ari Aster, and the writer credit for doing something original, something very unique, very different. This is a completely different type of horror movie from anything else that's ever been made. I guess if you want to throw the Wicker Man in there because it's a folk horror, that's fine. But I do think this is very unique and very different, and I always got to tip my cap to that. I like a lot of the acting. I love the cinematography. I love the shots. I love the setting. I love the daylight horror, which we don't get enough of to me. I think I love that about this film. I love the way it's lit. And, I just think the performances carry the film, because the story isn't all that. It's just not for me. The actual story itself doesn't do a whole lot for me, but there's so much other good here that it's hard to give it too low of a rating. Like, there's just a lot of really good filmmaking involved in the movie to me. The runtime kind of knocks it down a little bit, though. All that being said, I decided to go ahead and give it a 7. Flat 7.
All right. Hey, I can go so you guys can end on a better note than me. My least favorite kill was Mark as well, being that it's off screen. My favorite kill was actually Josh, and it was easy, just a shot to the head, but just lingering on hearing him like moaning, it felt very, very realistic. And anyway, that's why it's my favorite kill. Again, I've pretty much said my piece about this. It's not really a movie I'll probably ever watch again. Part of me is glad I watched it, and part of me really isn't. Sometimes I rate my movies on enjoyability. Sometimes I rate my movies on how well made I think they are, regardless of enjoyability. Since I'm so conflicted about this one anyway, I think I'm going to cheat. I'm going to rate it a 2 on my enjoyability factor, and probably a 7 on how much I actually respect the thing. So if you average it out, it gets a 4.5. And I'm not really happy with that score, but I'm not honestly sure really about anything with this movie. So I think ending on a score that I'm unsatisfied with is pretty fitting.
I don't know if you caught it, but my God, you should have seen how fast my head whipped up when you said 2.
No, I try not to look at you guys when I'm talking because it makes me laugh.
I'll go ahead and knock mine out. That way I'll have time to do some averages while Nico's giving his. So for my least favorite kill, I went with Mark because it was off screen. Now, yes, we did get to see the visual of his shins being worn by someone else. I know Cotton Hill is jealous of that. But it was still an off-screen kill. My favorite kill, I went with the old woman because it was so shocking and so holy shit when you see her head just get splattered all over that skull. That was a crazy death. So I thought that was a really well done one. And I separated the two because the old man is not getting included here because my man went out with a hammer to the head when he could have just ended it himself. He's very lucky I didn't pick him as the least favorite just because he's a dumbass. As for my rating, I just think that this movie is a visual masterpiece. I think it's class acting from start to beginning. I think the dialogue is brilliantly written. I don't think there's much negativity I can say about this. The only thing I wish I hadn't seen was, to quote Mike Settle, the bloody dick.
Oh, here we go.
It's just, the sex scene, man, I get it. It's necessary for the story. It did what he was wanting to do. It was a powerful visual to see, but I didn't need to see someone pushing someone's butt cheeks as he's thrusting. That's a t-shirt, by the way. That needs to go up on the site tomorrow. But anyway, I just think that start to finish, it's a brilliantly made movie, and it did what it was supposed to do. I did not really enjoy it, but I don't think you're supposed to enjoy it. You're supposed to appreciate it. That being said, I think this movie's great. One of my higher scores given. I'm gonna give a 9.
All right, that's not wow, Dustin. Man, you are. Feels good to have you back on the home team, my man. Appreciate it. I think that's higher than like my past 3 movies combined, maybe. But anywho, my favorite kill, I'm with you, Mike. I chose Christian burning the bear suit, even though it was hard for me not to choose the Blood Eagle. I thought the effects on the Blood Eagle was incredible. My least favorite, I chose an off-screen kill, but I chose Connie. You didn't see nothing that happened to her. All right, I just wrote a little summary. After my first initial watch, I wasn't a fan. I respected the art and the work. However, as a day and week went on after viewing, the movie just lingered with me. Ari Aster said he wanted people, and I quote, by the end of the movie to feel moved, unsettled, and confused. And that's how I felt. After some rewatches, I've honestly grown to quite love this movie. The acting, direction, cinematography, the visuals, the sense of isolation, and the happy ending. Florence was phenomenal as Danny. A couple complaints I have would be just Simon and Connie's separation off screen and Mark's off screen death. I would like to see. I mean, he was an asshole. I'd love to see him die. But anyways, I commend Aster for this. I think it's a masterpiece, and I gave it a 9.5.
Ooh. So the composite score, if you take out Brian's anomaly here, would be a lot higher, but it's okay. I'm just kidding. I apologize. Our composite score though is a 7.5 on Midsommar.
All right, that's right around what I gave it. God, I'm a genius. Let's go.
IMDb's a 7.1 or something like
Yeah.
that.
IMDb
Who's
is
the genius?
7.1. The Metascore is 7.2. So this is one of the rare occasions that the DGOT and IMDb coalitions unite. The Metascore, the fan score, and us are pretty spot on. So maybe they do know something every now and then.
Mileage Mike was right there with a 7. Let's go. I'm accurate as fuck in this bitch.
It's been a long episode. Any more final thoughts before I just shout out the blood donors? Our camp level will be Clayton J, Nina, thank you very much, and our camp counselors, Hunter Nelson, Karen, and Shan's a camp counselor, right? She just joined as well, I believe.
Yes.
Just want to thank all of our camp. Jesus Christ, this has been a long episode. Thank you to all of our blood donors. We really appreciate it. Y'all are awesome.
We are so excited by the participation in this blood donor campaign. For those of you who don't know or maybe new, we have launched a new Patreon campaign called Blood Donors. We have 5 donor tiers that range from, just $5 monthly donation to even one-time donations as well. And in exchange for keeping the lights on, we've added perks such as early content to bonus episodes, autographed pictures, t-shirts, and even joining us for an episode of your choice. Any donation goes straight to helping with web hosting, SoundCloud hosting, guest procurement. Again, just thank you guys and girls so much. We have some of the best loyal listeners. We love each and every one of you. We can't believe every day that we get to do this. Just go to don'tgoouthere.com and click donate. And oh yes, there will be blood. But again, not real blood. This is money, you animals.
Next week, we'll be back to doing another legendary blood donor pick. I believe it's Return of the Living Dead with Tom Matthews, former friend of the show, or the man. Looking forward to it. I appreciate these guys reviewing Midsommar with me. I know it was a big movie, a long movie, and just one that's quite kind of intimidating, like The Exorcist or The Shining. Like there's a lot to it, and there's a lot packed into it, and it's controversial. So it was fun. I'm glad you all enjoyed it somewhat. I know Brian didn't, but I kind of figured he wouldn't anyways. Thank you guys. I appreciate you doing the show with me, and thank you to the listeners. Y'all have a good one. Just want to remind everybody,